Greetings, everyone. Tim Anderson here, aka Renfill, and welcome to the latest Monday Musings episode. A series that just kind of started off with me talking about random topics, and people seem to like it, so I have continued to do it as the weeks have gone on. So here we are again for the latest Monday Musings episode. It is January 5th. I say January. February. Let's repeat that. February 15th, um, 2021. It's been a different year so far. Um, I think everybody is still in a COVID mood. We're obviously still dealing with that on a global basis. Sure, vaccines are slowly rolling out. People are starting to get vaccinated. But, we've still got worldwide lockdowns everywhere. And, I don't think there's really any way of knowing, how we're going to come out of this or what it's going to look like. We're definitely getting to the point where we are coming out of it. We can kind of see a light at the end of the tunnel now. Had a bit of a hiccup there. Um, so that's all good, all positive stuff. Um, Looking towards it. I know here where we live, I'm scheduled, I believe, at the start of May is when I can. I'll have to double check the website, but I think at the start of May I can go ahead and sign up, and I'll get my first round in like June, and then my wife is going to be the month after that because she falls into the next age bracket down from me. Um, So June, July is when we're going to be getting our first rounds of vaccines, and I'll be keeping everybody updated on all of that as we go along. Looking really looking forward to that. I'm ready. I'm not afraid of a shot. I never used to get my flu vaccine, and then not last year, but um, 2017, we went to a conference. We were in Ireland doing a speaking engagement at the TVEX conference, and there was a bug going around. It was cold winter flu bug. Um, it was, well, I think October when we were there. So yeah, beginning of flu season, and we were there, and it was going around the conference. Didn't get sick at the conference. Then we went and we did immediately after the conference. We went and did a press tour, and it was us and like 8 or 9 other people plus the guides from the tourism board. And so there was, a dozen of us in a van heading out from the conference to go on this, 8 day, 7, 8 day press tour. And the second day, I believe it was the second day as we were leaving, um, one of the individuals on the tour, it was a husband and wife couple. The van, they were sitting at the front of the van. Van pulls over on the side of the road. Chris and I were sitting at the very back of the van because we like to be at the back and just relax and everything else. And they stop, pull over, and she gets out and just pukes all over the side of the road. And immediately I'm like, oh shit, when you're in a bus, when you're in a small van slash bus like this, when one person gets sick, everybody's going to get sick. And I had already seen, like a third of the conference. There's 1,000 people at the conference, and there were hundreds of sick people at the conference. Like it was just going around. And um, that started that was the second day. Was it Chris? Was it the second day when we did the press tour after Kivex when we had to stop the van and she got off and threw up? First day or the second day on the press tour? She does. Yeah, it was like two. Yeah, it was like 2 or 3 days, and then after that, we started. Then it was like, okay. Then there was halfway through the bus, this person started getting a sore throat, and then the next person started getting a sore throat, and then this person over here started coughing and getting a sore throat, and this person started getting a headache and a sore throat, and it was working its way through the back of the bus. And you got to remember, this is pre-COVID, so nobody's wearing masks. It's just flu season, and I didn't get a flu shot that year. I'd never gotten a flu shot in my life. And you know, we were getting down towards the last day. I think it was the next to last day of the tour, and one of the tour guides finally got it. And like I remember because I was towards the back of the pack, just following along, taking pictures and video and everything else. And then she just starts like walking along, and is as she's walking, just starts projectiling. And I literally, I'll never forget this. I ran over and like grabbed her hair and pulled it back for her, and like took her purse and was like helping support her as she doubled over and just lost it right there in the street. And I'm just sitting there going, how is it possible that Chris and I have not gotten sick yet? Like, I was really surprised that we hadn't gotten sick. Press tour ends. Chris and I go off and do our, like, uh, 15, 20 day road trip along the Wild Atlantic Way. And by the third day of that trip, and it's windy and rainy and everything else, and by the third day, I started getting sore throat and was like, no, I can't believe, no, 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 no. And so I just pushed through. And so I'm the one driving the car because Chris doesn't have a license. And we have an itinerary because all of these hotels have been booked for us in advance. Thousands of dollars have been paid for these accommodations. We have contracts that we have to fulfill because we have to go to certain places, be there at a certain day, to take photography and drone photography and videography and everything for our contracts. So there's no time to get sick. Like, you don't get to be sick on a tour like that. So we're pushing on ahead, and I'm just feeling progressively worse. And by the time we get to the end of that third night, I had a fever and full on sore throat, and was just like, this is horrible. And went to bed, woke up the next day, and just had this horrible chest cough and fever, but you can't stop. We got to go on to the next location. And then as this is going on, there's like the first hurricane in however many years is coming towards Ireland. And so we end up that next, not that night, but the next night, I made it to the next destination, was feeling horrible. Chris was feeling fine. Get to the next place, get up yeah, she's all like, yay. Get to the next place, and then the weather was getting really, really bad. And we got to the next destination, and I was feeling like horrible. And we hunkered down in this place, and it was a hurricane. And I just literally, I called ahead and told the next place, I was, look, we're locked down because of the hurricane. We're not going to be able to make it to your place tomorrow night. Really, unfortunately, we're just going to have to cancel that section of the trip. And they were very understanding because of the hurricane. It was the hurricane's fault and everything else. But that night, as we were locked up in this place and the hurricane's going on around us, and it was just horrible weather, and the power's flickering and off, on and off. I had cough syrup, but I had the worst cough of my life ever, and I couldn't stop coughing that night, to the point where I told Chris, I was like, I think I might need to go to the hospital, because it was like 3 o'clock in the morning. I couldn't get to sleep, and it wouldn't stop. And again, this is just the flu, this is just influenza at this point, not COVID, but still bad enough that I couldn't breathe and was just having a horrible night. And thankfully, because of the hurricane, I had a day where we couldn't go anywhere, so we were just locked down in the hotel the whole next day. And as a result, I was able to just sleep all day and just drink a whole bunch of tea and all this other stuff. And by the time I woke up the day after the hurricane, I was starting to feel a little bit better. And over the next couple of days, I got better. But the cough lingered. I had that cough for like 6 weeks. It was a pretty nasty chest cough. And Chris never got sick. Yeah, she's like over there crossing her fingers right now. She never got sick. So the next year, which was 2018, I got the flu shot for the first time at the end of 2018, which would have been. Did we went to Missouri in 2009 or December of 2018, right? No, no, that was a different trip. End of that year, got my first flu shot. Um, didn't get sick. Didn't get a flu that year, which was great. I was like, first time I've never got the flu, so I went and got the shot again the following year, and then we went to Missouri for a month. Didn't get anything that year. However, came back, and we went to the supermarket like the day after we got back, um, and all the cashiers at the supermarket were sick, and um, I got whatever it was that was going around. Um, and got it again. But that time it was a lot less. I never got a fever or anything like that. I just had a cough that just kept going on, and I eventually went and got some antibiotics, and turned out it was just a chest infection, and as a result of the flu, but it was a lesser flu than what I had gotten the previous year. So I'm a big fan of the flu shot now because first year I didn't get it at all. Next year, I got a lesser version of it as opposed to being sick for 6 weeks. I was only sick for about 2 weeks. So I'm a big fan of vaccines. So because they do work, science, bitches. Um, so yeah, I'm definitely going to get the COVID shot when it rolls around because as someone who has gotten severe flu, the severe influenza a couple of different times, and I'm like out for 2 months, I would rather avoid that. And especially because with COVID, you're dealing with something that can potentially be worse than the flu. I mean, it affects everybody differently. Uh, anyway, that's a random topic for this morning's discussion. Is a little bit of let's talk about being sick. Also, just I think it goes back to thinking about. I think moving forward, I'm a lot more conscious now about. I mean, you're always conscious of it to some degree. Like when you go to a conference or something and you're around 1,000 people. Like I've always known every time because when I was younger, it's like every time I flew, I would get um, not the flu, but every time I flew somewhere on a plane, I'd pick up something because there's people on a plane, people are sniffling, coughing, blah 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 blah. And so then it was just like, okay, every time I'm gonna fly, I'm gonna hop up on vitamin C and zinc and multivitamins for 48 hours before the flight, and then just keep taking stuff during the flight and everything after that, and stopped getting sick on planes. Um, but conferences are difficult because you're going to be around hundreds, if not thousands, of people over the course of 48 to 72 hours. So it's really tricky. And then when you go to a press tour, you cannot avoid people because you're in a compact space with like a dozen people for 8 to 10 to 12 days. And if someone in that group gets sick, you're all gonna get sick. Unless you're like Chris and you have super antibodies in your body. Um, but definitely moving forward now, post COVID, I think everyone's going to be a lot more conscious about making sure that they disinfect surfaces, wash your hands, don't touch your face. And I will continue to wear a mask. Even after I get vaccinated, I'm going to continue to wear a mask. And people will say, oh, it's overkill. Some people will say masks don't work. CDC has shown that double masking has a 96%, I believe, chance of helping to, you know, eliminate or reduce 96% chance of reducing the risks. So yeah, I'm a big fan of science and what the science shows about masks. So I will continue to wear masks even in the future. Now I have always worn masks here in the city, not for the purpose of getting sick per se, but because of air pollution. When I know that the air pollution is high during the months when it's really high, I will wear a cloth mask when I go out jogging or when I go to the park. And I've done that for 3 years since we've been living here in the city. And that's because for me, um, I have sinuses that get easily irritated. So I wear a mask to avoid having allergic symptoms. That's just who I am as an individual. I've never worn a mask for medical purposes. It's always just been because of air pollution and just when it's really heavy during like April and May, I'll wear a mask. Um, Anyway, I don't mean to turn this video into a political statement, so hopefully none of you take it that way. I'm just saying that I will continue to wear a mask even post, um, even after I've gotten vaccinated, just because I think for myself personally, I'm taking disease a lot more seriously moving forward, especially as I'm getting into the middle parts of my life. I don't have the immune system that I had when I was 20 years old. I'm 41 now, so there's an extra level of precaution that is warranted, I think, for someone like me who wants to get the most out of life. But I also don't put myself at inordinate amount of risks. Like, I don't go to raves, I don't go to parties. Like I said, the only time that we're in places where there's large gatherings of people is when we are in a conference environment, like if we're at a speaking engagement or if we're going somewhere or if we're on a press tour. And we haven't done any of those for a few years, but um, things we're looking at getting back into that, which I think I mentioned um, in one of my Patreon posts for the beginning of the year. We kind of revived Marginal Boundaries, which is our travel brand, at least on a part-time kind of hobby basis. We're just doing stuff around Mexico, but I had a very good conversation with the guy who used to be the head of the Costa Brava Tourism Board, which is where we went in 2015. We were working there for 3 months, and he's now heading the European side of the big travel conference that we have spoken at 4 or 5 times now. And it's looking like we're going to probably, or possibly, let's say possibly, as opposed to probably, we're possibly going to be getting back into doing speaking engagements and going back on the road. Um, Maybe the end of this year. It honestly is going to depend on a lot of factors because no one can predict what the world's going to look like by the end of this year. We don't know if it's going to be a repeat of last year. Everybody's hoping that because of vaccinations, we're going to see, you know, COVID contagion rates go down. We'll see countries start to open up their borders again. Most of the events that we have participated in the past have done everything virtually over the last year, but people are trying to put together physical events for the end of this year, like November, December. And if we're going to be getting vaccinated in June, July, I think most of the world expects to have somewhere around 75% of their populations vaccinated by like August. So we can't predict what travel is going to look like by the end of this year, but those conversations are happening, and it's looking like at the very least, it'll for sure next year, but hopefully by the end of this year, be back on the road and going and doing new conferences and going new places and continuing to travel, which is something that we've always done as a primary gig. And then at the end of 2017, we shut it all down to work full time in game development. And now that we're in a different world in 2021, we're going to probably be bridging that gap again between travel and game dev. So everything we're doing here on Patreon and YouTube is the game development, gaming side of things. And then everything we do outside of that is going to be travel related. So, I think I've teased this over the past few weeks. I had a sit down last night and brainstorming session. We're going to have another brainstorming session coming up on the 17th, this upcoming Wednesday. But it's looking like what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a live stream here on YouTube on March 1st at 8 p.m. Central. I'm not going to confirm that in writing yet, but for those of you who are watching this video, that's looking like the date. I'm going to confirm that date here later this week. Once we get the date confirmed on that, what we're going to be doing on March 1st here on YouTube is we're going to be doing the kind of the full reveal of the project that we're kicking off in March, which is a project that I'm working on with my wife. She's doing concept art for the project, and um, my brother is also involved in that project. And we've got some other people that we'll talk more about it when we get to that point. But we're going to be doing the reveal on March 1st, and we're going to be talking about what the project is. I've teased a little bit of it on Patreon for the subscribers, teased some concept art. I can confirm that it is a new fantasy-based intellectual property. It's something new and something exciting that I'm really looking forward to working on. And that's in conjunction with, because I've been doing a little bit of the pre-production on that, I've already recorded the first world building episode where I'm drawing the world map. And I've teased that out already, teased a screenshot of that. Chris has done, I don't know what, you've done 6 or 8 pieces of concept art now? How many pieces have you done? 5? I thought it was 6. All right, she's done 5. She says she's done 5. I've seen more, but I think she's only completed 5. So that's going on. I'm working on the sci-fi novel right now, which I'm hoping to have. Again, I'm shooting for the end of this month to have that wrapped up. We'll see. But anyway, we're planning on doing the reveal on Monday night, March 1st at 8 p.m. Central. I'm saying it here first. I will be confirming that in the next few days. And once I get it confirmed, we'll be doing some social media blasts and sharing it out on Discord and everything else. But the idea is that we're going to be doing a live stream on YouTube where we're going to be explaining exactly what the project is, how it's going to be unfolding over the course of 2021, what the plan is. It's a three-part project. It has three different components to it. Um, so those will all be launching at various points throughout 2021, and we're going to be documenting every single component of it on Patreon and through YouTube, and also over at Vimeo. We're going to be doing some private videos for subscribers only through Vimeo. So yeah, it's really exciting. That's something new. That's something that we're going to be working on as a trio starting in March. And then beyond that, of course, you guys can follow along at Marginal Boundaries with what I'm doing there, and also Hidden Compass, which is where I do right now I'm the marketing manager for them, and we've got crowdfunding campaigns going on for the stories, a bunch of other exciting things in the works. We were in Paris with them end of 2018 doing a big workshop. So yeah, lots of fun stuff going on in the world of Tim Anderson, aka Renfail. And then, of course, Chris is also doing her Patreon series over her own Patreon, where she's doing Mexican food, cooking videos, cooking tutorials. I've been helping her record all the videos for that, and then she's doing most of the photography these days on her own for that, but she does 2 or 3 things a week, and she's just been stockpiling recipes and things. I think we've put out a dozen or so recipes over on her Patreon, but there's probably 25 or 30 now that are ready to be worked on, and she's just stockpiling everything, and then she goes in and does drafts, um, and then I edit. Since English is not her native language, I edit her English and she edits my Spanish when we have to do written projects in each other's language. That's how that works. Anyway, what else could we talk about on this rambling episode of Monday Musings? I started rewatching. I say rewatching, so I never finished Star Wars Rebels. I only ever watched the first season of Star Wars Rebels. I wrapped up season 7 of Star Wars Clone Wars the other day, and I started rewatching season 1 of Star Wars Rebels. And I'm going to be going through and watching the follow-up seasons. I'm also in the preliminary pre-production stages of doing a read-through of the first Chronicles of Dragonlance novel, um, which is it's R&D for the new project to some degree, because I'm taking some. So like I just went back. I think I talked about this last week. I went back and watched Willow for the first time in a long time, because I needed to do a character study of the brownies, because I'm looking at having some sort of brownie slash fairy type character as one of the main characters in the new story. So just going back and doing some R&D on how other stories, books, movies, film, comic books, and so on and so forth have treated brownies and or fairies. Um, and part of what we're doing is I'm looking at the character arc development of the main character in Star Wars Rebels, and how he goes through that first season and gets involved with the, the party that he gets involved with. And then Chronicles of Dragonlance is looking at story beats for the overall chapter arcs, and looking not just at that, but also in terms of world development, um, and different races, as well as different having multiple characters, because I really like the campaign setting for Dragonlance more. I like it more than Forgotten Realms personally. Um, that's just a personal preference. Um, I think both are equally entertaining, but just on a personal level, I kind of have always enjoyed the Dragonlance setting a little bit more, and that's just a personal thing. Um, and it might change. I can't say that. I could say that from my youth, it remains my favorite, but I haven't reread the Forgotten Realms books ever. I remember reading a bunch of the Forgotten Realms stuff when I was in my late teens up into my mid 20s, but I never actively went back. I haven't ever gone back and reread those. So I might need to do that, and maybe in rereading, I might find out that I like it more than Dragonlance, but as an adult, but I don't know yet. So for the moment, I'm doing a Dragonlance reread, um, coming up, and maybe I need to look for Forgotten Realms too. I don't know. Depends on my time, but yeah. Still playing Lotro. few times a week. Really enjoy that game. Rack joined us, one of our longtime community members who has been involved for a long time. We've played with him throughout 4 or 5 other MMORPGs as part of the Saga of Lucimia gaming community that I formed. Um, I mean, I can't tell you all the games we've played now, but I know we played EverQuest 1 a few times, progression servers, live servers. We did EverQuest 2, progression servers, live servers, EQ1, P99 server. We've done Vanguard, the emulator server. We've done Star Wars: The Old Republic. We've done ESO. We've done Lord of the Rings Online. We've done, half a dozen or more. We did World of Warcraft Classic for 6 months. Um, this time around, my brother and I were just playing Lord of the Rings Online for our own sake, and then one of my brother's friends joins us on Monday nights, and then Rack got in touch with me recently. He was like, "Hey, can I join you guys?" I was like, "Yeah, it's open to anybody. It's just we didn't promote it this time around because it was just something that I started playing for the sake of putting together some videos for my YouTube channel, and that expanded into doing the Lotro Cooking in Real Life series. And then my brother was like, "Hey, you're playing. I'd like to play again." So I was like, "Okay, let's set up a couple of nights a week where you and I can meet and play the Hobbits." And then his friend wanted to join, and now Rex. So if any of you want to join, feel free to join us. We're on the Laurelin server, which is the roleplay server. Um, yeah, just let me know in Discord, um, and we'll get you invited into the guild. We typically play Mondays and Thursday nights, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. roughly. And then I play a couple times a week outside of that, streaming my Lore Master. But those, I don't, I won't probably be playing, or I don't anticipate playing my Lore Master with other people, unless there's other people in my level range, because that's a solo character that I just take through for the purposes of documenting the Epic Quest series, and we're about midway through Moria right now, um, continuing that adventure. So anyway, I think that's enough for today's rambling episode. Um, Again, stay tuned because in March we're kicking off the new project, and I will confirm on social media and in Discord and everywhere else here on YouTube, on Patreon, we'll confirm the exact dates and times for the official announcement of that project because we're going to do a live stream. At least we anticipate doing a live stream. Um, take questions from anybody who wants to show up and ask questions. This is something, like I said, we're starting it from scratch, and going from there. A lot of people have asked, are you still going to work on, are you still working on the second book in the Saga of Lucimia? Yes, it's still being worked on. Um, so at some point when that's ready, I'll let folks know. But in the meantime, I'm finishing up a science fiction novel and working on this new hobby project, because that's what it is. It's a hobby project, that we're working on in our spare time outside of all of our other projects. Um, and we're going to be revealing that in early March. And hopefully, all of you will want to join along for that adventure and see what it's all about. So stick around for all that stuff. Otherwise, I would say stay safe, wear your masks, social distance if you can, please. Work from home if possible, um, and just try to do your best to not get sick or get other people sick. I'm not saying that to make a political statement, because only in the United States is it a politicized agenda. The rest of the world takes it very seriously. Um, you should too. So wear your masks, social distance, try not to go out if you can. If you do, do what you can to reduce your impact. And let's all work towards hopefully seeing the world reopen by the end of this year so that we can all get back to traveling and going to concerts and going to the parks and movie theaters and restaurants. I miss restaurants. Chris does not miss restaurants as much as I do, and she does not like the movie theater like I do. Like I have been a fan of cinema for years, and I have had zero problems over the years going by myself to the movie theater and just sitting there enthralled by whatever's on the big screen. Um, but we haven't been able to do any of that for a year now, and it's something like I don't care about concerts. Like I used to go to a lot of music concerts when I was a kid. That's not a big deal for me, but movie theaters and restaurants. I love to go to restaurants. I'm a big fan of just a nice balcony with a view out over a thoroughfare or a busy avenue in the heart of a city, whether it's here in Mexico City, Paris, London, Rome. I'm a big fan of the cafe environment of just hanging out, having a coffee, sitting and watching people go by, having a nice meal, a couple cocktails, bottle of wine, and just relaxing. Smoke a cigar, you know, and I like that, and I've always enjoyed restaurants, so I'm really looking forward, to getting back to that. That's something that I definitely miss. And I know the restaurant industry has been hit really hard with COVID, as well as the hotel industry. So I'm looking forward to being able to participate in the hospitality industry once again as travel opens up and as we are able to take marginal boundaries and do stuff with it again and go on new trips and new adventures and share photography and videography and gastronomy from around the world with our followers and fans. So if you like that kind of stuff, by the way, feel free to. I think the links are somewhere. I don't think I have links here below in YouTube, but you can go over to Patreon. I think there's a link to Marginal Boundaries. I have not updated the website in like 4 years, but we've done a couple of recent videos. I think in December and January recently. I need to do one for February over on the YouTube channel. So just feel free to look those up as well if you want to find out what we're up to in the travel space, which is different than what we're doing here with the gaming stuff. So I think that's it. We're 30 minutes in. That's a good cutoff point. So stay safe, everybody. We will see you in the next episode, which will be next Monday for the next Monday Musings.